volume in the microphone, please. Repression in the form of culture. Sorry. does it feel to sit down the way that you're sitting down?
What a victory for the psyche, le chagrin et la pitié.
tolerance as fast as it falls. Wolf.
You fucking mug. You fucking mugs. It's not your fault. You are the authentic version of what the rest of us can only imagine. Sarcastic embrace.
Thanks so much.
Okay, should work with the sound. Oh, I hold it in my hands. Okay, yeah. So how did you, I don't know, start as artists or involved in the noise scene, as one can say so.
I guess I started playing music as a teenager with a kind of indie punk band in where I'm from, and I had very bad sense of rhythm, and I was always changing the bass lines, and I never played the same. And then I went to London. I was already kind of trying to search for what will be the weirdest or most strangest sounds and people who do things. And of course London really was very liberating in the sense that I saw some amazing stuff, and with concerts by suddenly a Japanese friend took me to see Masona live in Japan, and that was wow. That was like punk taken into the streams, punk taken into the extremes, and it was only one person with one microphone just going bananas, and it was just amazing. And then I had access to many different concerts, and from noise to improvise to free improvisation to free jazz to more techno stuff and beat and stuff, and that kind of really opened things up. And then there was this workshop that was run where everybody could meet on Fridays to try things out. And the first day I went there with a melodica, like totally nervous. And then the next day the guitar, but with a sampler, then the sampler, and finally a few years later I got a computer. And that kind of always interested, I guess, into what would be the most extreme form of music making. And then of course extreme, maybe at the beginning could be like noise and loud and aggressive, but then also what would be like really quiet and really, so to see where the limits were in terms of music production. And at the same time I was studying art and had a lot of interest in conceptual art and performance and performativity, experimental film. So I was kind of dealing with these issues, but I was not connecting them so much into the last year of my studies, which I tried to kind of start to connect them with some of the ideas. And then I went and did an MA in theory straight away. So that kind of connection between, I guess for so many years I had like a big gap between theory, my interest in art, conceptual performativity, and experimental music production, and more what I'm trying to do is to combine, and politics, and more and more what I'm trying to do is to combine them.
But when you started doing noise with the perspective on basically production, and not at first hand how the music or whatever or noise may be perceived by the audience, what have you found out of this producing?
No, well, but like from the very beginning, was I had this feeling, that I feel alienated by the world, the society, and the way that you are supposed to do this and do that, and then this seems like, all right, let's make some music that it makes other people feel to a certain extent that feeling, so equally alienating. While at the same time exploring the limits and the limitations of the speakers or the space, and so it was like just like I'm fucking fed up, with the world and with everything, and I want something to release it, to release this language. I want to share my, even by other art to the other people who will also be perceived as, I just wanted to a fucking kick. I wanted to kick and to also get a fucking kick.
How important is the role of the body in that? Because actually that was not really discussed tonight. And the way I relate to noise, for instance, is very much based on how it makes me feel physically. Much more than, like in any way in the first way I perceive it, rational way of gathering information. So how do you relate to the physical level?
Well, it's an exploration. I mean, and then it depends what kind of context that you are dealing with. I've been kind of trying to deal to a certain extent with it. But like the other day, we were going to discuss some extracts of a text that I wrote, and I suggested that we will do it in a way that will be kind of the opposite of the way that we'll do it normally, so some kind of in the strangest kind of way. So we all will be in the space trying to behave as strange as possible, whatever that might mean. And then at some point, like people were having contact with each other with the bodies, so it was fine to be on top of somebody and somebody was on top of me and like this, and it was great. It was a very nice feeling, not being together in that. But in concerts, I've been kind of trying to do that by, kind of putting the, like
blindfold.
Or playing in the ears and things like that. But I'll tell you a funny story. A concert in Providence with my friend Tim in the Black Haemorrhage Haien. I was doing that to a guy, a very cool guy, and what he did was to start to suddenly wanking me. And then I did in the same, the kind of plinky plonk kind of reaction improvisation. I started to do the same. The most weird kind of atmosphere. Yeah, I'm not homosexual. I'm gonna be a father in 4 months. So it's like, but that was very, very weird, strange situation. But it was a way of feeling our bodies in a different way than we usually do.
It relates to the question of what you might call free in this way. I think very much. I mean, that's why I'm asking it, because I think artistically or in general, noise, or also for me it's also in performance art, or the way I do it. I find it important and interesting. It has very much to do with letting things be, just as they are, and to be able to hear. And I am mostly related to, for instance, the objects I work with. And try to, of course, create other meanings or values or languages within that, what I do. But, and I think in that part, when it comes to noise, I think body is very important. When also within the relation of capitalist society, very much. So that's why I was just wondering why it was not a point in the
but I mean,
discussion.
It's talking about what is always getting cool. I mean,
because
it's not that we had an agenda, clear cut agenda or anything, so we had some things and some points, but the whole thing went into wherever it went. However, Emma had it, she did the cover of the book. She's very, very interested in how bodies relate to space and bodies, she calls bodies as, don't have to deal with gender issues. Because I guess it's been quite activist in the queer movement, so she's like extremely careful about these issues, and I learned a lot from her. But still, dressing black and boots, and no. But she made me be much more aware of this, and the way we were sitting down in the tables and the chairs and like cigarettes, and I could perceive this. Of course, how can I deconstruct that? It's like pretty difficult, really, really difficult, while trying to be natural, which is very, very difficult.
Yeah, and what does it mean to be? I mean,
there's a level of theatricality, within, any performance kind of, how do you, kind of, not make a gimmick and not make it, but it's so difficult.
Of course, but I think you're always in whatever context you're in, and of course it shifts all the time. You're always in that point of, being a performer in this way or the other. I think you have an attitude, and then by this you go different ways.
Yeah, but of course some people that are used to being in the people, that level is much more. That is much easier to do that.
I would like to ask the one question I try to ask in the discussion, in the way, like, what do you think, if there's any special quality or potential within noise, in the way how it can be used as something to transform, for instance, the capitalist system, or just in relation to other things one could do, or to other forms of art, whatever. Would you say there's something
I think Ray Garcia
particular?
puts it very, I think, I don't know, I like a lot very much his essay, and that kind of whatever, you know, like, oh no, I take noise to be the asshole of culture for me, so where everything is possible, you know, it's like there's no, you know, you cannot make hierarchies between good and bad noise, it's just like ridiculous to do that. So it's like, it's absolute lack of respect, or at least that's what I would like, you know, so it's like of empowerment, you know, to like, all the structures or kind of habits or kind of ways of dealing with your environment, you know, maybe we create this kind of noise. What I would love it to happen is that kind of fuck that, you know, like, so it's just, yeah, for me I guess coming from punk is to, you know, like, that kind of empowerment that punks give you without having to follow into the stereotype of what punk is or what noise is, you know, like, just like that kind of empowerment of possibilities that doesn't need to be dealt in quality control, or it doesn't need to be framed, you know, by an authorship or by a context, you know, something that is much more, you know, from shit to maybe something extremely sophisticated in terms, whatever, theoretically or whatever, you know, but that kind of, but, you know, I think noise, I mean, there's a lot of work. I mean, what Parkinson's book kind of did was to just put those two words, you know, noise and capitalism, was to sound like, what the fuck is noise, what the fuck is capitalism? The book doesn't answer it, you know, by no means, you know, like really extremely complex questions, but I guess what I find interesting about noise is that it contains both the kind of alienation aspect of it, but also the liberatory, you know, so it's that kind of negotiation. It's like, it's not one thing or the other, you know, noise is a product of capitalism totally, and maybe at some moments when somebody feels empowered or like kind of, you know, maybe feels their subjectivity, you know, feel like, wow, great, you know, but for other people that might be alienation, so it's like, that is such a complex, it's like the negotiation and contradiction between one thing or the other, constantly, totally encrusted, you know, and it's very subjective how you feel with that, so it's not like a purity thing, it's like this, so, I mean, it's you know, it's why I'm extremely cautious when people say, but you say improvisation or noise is capitalist. By no means, you know, the book by no means is trying to do that. It's just like there might be some elements that if we look at them carefully and at some moments, specific times, they might contain certain things that we might take. You know, what can we learn from them, from this practice, you know? But, you know, it's not a solution. Otherwise, you know.
Yeah, of course. I find it bizarre that people kind of expected that.
Yeah.
Because it obviously was not the idea and can't be.
Yeah.
In that way, I could describe it maybe rather than, as a practice or as an attitude.
Yeah, exactly. Practice or attitude. That's a good way of, you know, and definitely not try to let others, you know, in terms of, you know, make it a genre or make it one thing or the other, or, you know, like make, you know, like
category.
Try to keep it as open as possible and as like people. Like I did this concert in which it was a noise festival and I was playing kind of late, like there were many other concerts, so I knew people would be drunk. So basically did this concert in which the first 10 minutes I was standing like this with a microphone and mirrors and glasses, and people were heckling me. And the microphone was recording everything, you know. I was not saying anything, but you know, the 10 minutes I just pressed play on the file that got recorded like full on. And probably was one of my highlights of my career, you know, whatever. But yeah, that was like, that was good. And then somebody said, discussing later on in message board or something, said, yeah, that was good, but that was not noise. that was some fucking conceptual art performance bullshit, you know, like kind of like, it's like, for me it's nice, and it was a nice festival, so why, you know, but it's, and you know, all these people saying these things like, yeah, dickhead, get off Las Ramblas, you know, like, you know, all these things that they were saying, you know, it's like, if you don't call that noise, I don't know what you will call noise, and it's like, it's like people are kind of, you know, I'm interested in the opposite.
Yeah. But I think that has a lot to do with art in general, I would say, and especially within like the relation between art and, let's say, economy or market. Because especially when you like have, for instance, a performance within the art context, like in a noise festival, you have certain people going there with certain expectations and all these things. But from what I got tonight, I would rather ask, like, would you consider the potential of noise, and let's call it now as an attitude or as cultural artistic practice, that one can just apply or do wherever and accept, like...
I would like that to be. I don't want to make a claim on that. I would like that to be. You know, definitely don't want to, you know, be the prophet of like, you know, like, this is, yeah. Noise can be this, you know, not by any means. I would like that to be noise, and it's like...
So that's rather a model for how to relate to things in a way, not...
Yeah, but I mean, it's
kind
like,
of...
yeah, I mean, it's kind of how much are you willing to expand it, and you know, it's just, it's tricky, but yeah, that's what I would love it to be, you know, it's like, as open as it can be.
Yeah. Because like within the relation of like being an artist, and of course artist has never been and will never be as anything else out of a capitalist system. I just wonder, because I researched on this another project with colleagues of mine, how the artist is always kind of understood or taken in or incorporated as a kind of future model that predefines, for instance, working structures.
We were talking about that today.
Yeah, exactly. And in that way, I would wonder how you see yourself as an artist practicing noise within that structure. Like, how do you deal with that context when working artistically?
We were talking about that today. And now, the thing that comes to my mind is, I mean, people were talking about the creative class, or Howard, you know, has been talking about the affective class. And, you know, even if class is extremely problematic, I'm really thinking about what could be a contemporary kind of class consciousness that make us, you know, do something about this, you know, but actually capitalism, you know, is more and more fragmentalizing us into, you know, just you have to have a very direct, totally mix, like one thing's creativity, if you can get a bit of money, and like things like that. So how can we get together around our toughness and deal with it within a very, very different subject, as into, you know, you are the revolutionary stuff, you know, like kind of, it's like first, like, revolution, you know, what do we do after the revolution? Like, how do we organize ourselves? How do we organize power? You know, like, so it's just like fucking big issues. I mean, it's like, I guess, you know, it's like people have been dealing about these issues for a long time, and then we have, it's a huge subject, but worth engaging with it. But
I just wonder, like, maybe one could do it more precise, like if you, for instance, prepare a new project before you present it wherever, is there any very concrete way of how you reflect on the structures you work in? Like, are you trying to find a special way of how to organize your work or the people you work with, or what kind of structures?
There's no special, it just changes all the time, and some projects that are more likely to maybe reflect the only about the structures and others not, so it's not a template of how to go about it.
Yeah, no, of course, I'm not looking for an overgeneral thing.
Yeah, no, It's just like kind of not taking anything for granted, and everything is up for negotiation, and everything kind of come back and can be questioned, and especially if you work collaboratively, it's like I think very close to what we've been doing this week. It's like everything can be reassessed at any moment. There's nothing to just get for granted, and I guess that's a good way to go forward, in order to try to reveal not only kind of obvious structures in which capital is subjected, but also how our subjectivity is kind of from like this girl, that she was talking today about anti-nationalism and all this like really extremely black conscious what she said, like I was kind of quite interesting that she was very imperative to me, like really giving me an order, which I don't know to what extent she was kind of conscious, aware, or like fucking around with, but if she was talking about the being anti-German, but if I have a stereotype of it's kind of tricky, I don't want to judge anything or anything, but the aggressivity was there, and I also have I have a level of activity, or I also come from noise concerts, so I know I play around with this, like there's a performative element, but there's also a level that I can be comfortable in terms with taking that alternative role, But at least I do think that they became quite visible in the situation, like mine, and people could see it, identify it, and and hers. I could definitely see it, identify it, and kind of like. And I'm sure that she could identify mine, and I could identify hers, and the country, I think she probably is reflecting about that the same way I'm reflecting about mine, so it's like, I think this is really positive, really powerful, and
I think it was great, because like actually her aggressivity, or also that guy that stopped asking the question he actually wanted to ask, then he stopped because I was reading where I thought, if you want to know something, claim it.
Exactly. It's like suddenly this frustration.
There's no reason to stop if you really want to know something.
And then he said, oh, he forgot the question, and so it was very interesting to see that process happening, and then he asked the question again, and it was a very interesting question, but all this was open to negotiation, and no, it was not taken for granted, and I think so that I'm really happy about it.
Me too. I think that is actually the basic positive outcome of the evening.
Totally.
It displayed so much about what you tried to talk, or at least talked about. And then when, like, in the end you asked them about authority, and no one answered, and no one wanted to take the position, I think that's another very clear, problem. That people are always wanting something, but they are not able to really take the responsibility to do so, because no one wants to be in charge. That's the thing. But I like that, how the energy came. We have one last question. The thing is, I read just quickly through the book, and there was like, and you read it also? No, read your words actually. And there was this line that says that you don't know exactly what you want.
This is quoting Radu Malfatti.
Okay. But it says, I don't know exactly what I want, but I can say what I do not want. Which I very much like. And all the discussions about how society should change, or what else should come after capitalism, it's always the conservative position of saying, but what comes after that? And if you don't have a solution, you can't destroy what existed before and all these things. And how do you relate to that sentence? Maybe you can say something more. What this
Well, I
means.
really like it. I mean, and I think when I'm thinking about ideas or things like that for a concert or something, it's like, all right, I don't know, I don't have any, but like what I do not want. I do not want a conventional concert. I do not want to have an obvious relationship with the audience. It's as if, so I have like, and that's really helpful to kind of like all the kind of conventions, which you see one concert or a concert and they just like accept it, So it's like, That I definitely don't want. I don't want. And then some points you might find. So I'm gonna try to do something that is not that, and then you see what happens. But it's a very good way, you know. Like kind of, I'm not satisfied with what I have in front of me. But I don't know what is it that I want, you know. So I will try to do something that is not what I see, and then see what happens. Yeah.
And would you say that could be a practice that could work in large scale, like talking about society kind of more concretely? That this way of thinking could be practiced by much more people in one place than tonight, for instance?
That would be really interesting. I would love to, you know, but I don't know. I mean, yeah. I mean, one thing that I've been thinking quite a lot about it is how to bring this, if, you know, like we're using language and we, you know, things that everybody can use. It's not, you know, so it's improvising with no instruments or virtuosism or anything, you know, so and people just like, so it's like these things that everybody can do. It's like, but then how, you know, most of the people who were there is like interested in culture, music, so like very specific, you know. Is there anything that we can, you know, how we can bring links to other
groups of people?
Yeah, exactly. I'm very interested in that question, but I don't have any answers yet.
Okay, thank you a lot.
No.
Le 15 mai 1975, dans un petit port d'Amérique centrale, 3 malfaiteurs masqués attaquèrent la jonque chinoise appartenant à l'excentrique milliardaire Rufus Ackerman. Le but de l'opération était de s'approprier une fortune en diamants bruts que le milliardaire gardait dans une mallette blindée. Les diamants étaient assurés par la London International Insurance Company, qui fut obligée de verser l'indemnité prévue. Quant aux diamants, ils ne furent jamais retrouvés. Voici comment se déroulèrent les événements. Pendant ce temps, à Santos, une petite ville voisine, Shirley, la maîtresse de Perry Mendoza, attendait son amant dans le nightclub dont ils étaient propriétaires.
Alors,
Ça y est.
Merde, la mallette est vide. elle est vide.
Et pour... Elle a toujours été.
Même avant le hold-up?
Même avant le hold-up. Ben quoi? Ça vous étonne?
Qu'est-ce que ça veut dire? Ce n'est pas la vraie mallette? Qui a fait le coup?
Warren, bien entendu. C'est lui qui s'est arrangé pour les substituer.
Où ça?
À Kingston, la jonque a fait une petite escale et c'est là que Warren a substitué les 2 mallettes. Puisqu'on en est aux confidences, je peux vous dire que j'avais fait connaissance de Warren quelques semaines auparavant. Je suis tout de suite tombée amoureuse de lui. C'est alors qu'il m'a proposé l'affaire de la jonque. Vous êtes surpris, on dirait. J'avais compris, mon amour.
J'en étais sûr. Alors?
Je l'ai tué. Oui. On prendra l'avion qui part à 3 heures.
Oui, en voiture. Tu m'aimes?
Oui, je t'aime. Tu n'es pas le seul, je le suis moi aussi. Oui, je te le jure. D'accord, à l'aéroport. Ne t'inquiète pas pour moi, chérie. Fais vite, surtout.
Sois tranquille. À tout à l'heure. Depuis mon arrivée, 1 semaine à peine s'était écoulée. Tout avait été plus rapide et plus facile que nous l'avions pensé. Même l'intervention imprévue de Bill avait joué en notre faveur. Et maintenant, quelques minutes de train, et je serais près de Shirley. Je savais qu'elle aussi courait vers moi. Au Mexique, la vente des diamants allait nous rapporter de quoi vivre largement pendant toute notre vie. Ni Shirley ni moi n'avions de remords. Nous avions tué, bien sûr, mais qui? Des individus qui ne méritaient que cela. Et que vous passez par la ville de Veracruz, vous pourrez voir une petite maison blanche sur la colline d'Agua Viva. C'est là que nous habitons. Mais surtout, ne le dites à personne.